Welcome back to OneClimate. So we've just seen Connie there telling us that ministers and governments really have got to get down to business now. If you've been watching OneClimate.net this morning, you'd have seen the protests come through this hall today and reclaim the power march outside. If you've been following our Twitter coverage, you'll know that there's tear gas being used on the protesters outside and hundreds, if not thousands, of people trying to get into the conference. Delighted to have David Novack with me here, a filmmaker making the film Climate Chess. David, you were in the march that left the conference and you followed it down. What was it like?
It was a very peaceful march. I mean, they were marching, they were trying to join the group that had already met outside and make a big people's assembly out of it. Mm-hmm. And they were negotiating with the police about passage, and the police were sort of kind of controlling them but negotiating well with it, and they steered them off towards a bridge that had to be crossed, mm-hmm. and then they sealed them off. And the police would not let the group join the bigger group, which really wasn't all that far away at that point, but too far away to really congregate together. At that point, the indigenous folks who were with the group that came out of here sort of backed off because everybody wanted to make sure that they were going to be able to come back into the center. Mm-hmm. And the rest of the folks decided that they were going to just be there and be peaceful and try and get through. And the police pressured them and pressured them and pressured them, squeezed them into a very tight group, and then started hitting the guys and girls who were in the front with some billy clubs. And
this is something that the viewers on OneClimate, we've seen. We had personal testimony yesterday from a girl who was at the Klimaforum party, which got raided by police, tear gas used again there. Do you think that the policing has been overbearing here?
From what I understand, it's been very overbearing. This particular protest, I was in the middle of it. It was a completely nonviolent demonstration, making their way. It was approved, it was permitted, and they were going to make their way to join the other people who also were approved and permitted. Mm-hmm. There's absolutely no violence, and as those billy clubs were raised in the air and people were hit, the folks who were getting hit, they would just raise their hands up in the air and said, "We're non-violent, who are you? We're non-violent, who are you?"
Well, it's a relief that it didn't escalate further. We've seen some live footage. There appears to be quite a major standoff outside the protest. Can you give us an update? What was the latest that you saw whilst out there?
In terms of the larger protests outside, I don't know because I never got that far out. What I have heard is that there was some tear gassing and that there's been a number of arrests.
And you've managed to get back into the centre, which we can say from experience is not an easy thing to do normally, just with queues, let alone with extra security. Were there any problems there?
Well, they are letting the press back in, but they are no longer letting NGOs back in, and a number of people who were involved in that were not allowed in. And where it's becoming very complicated is that there are some delegates who were involved in that march, and whether or not they're getting access back in is questionable. I don't know.
Okay, thanks very much for joining us, David. It's been an interesting morning here.